Hi, my name is Laura Moreno, and I'm an onboarding specialist with Broadlume Management Software. Today, we're going to be talking about part two of creating quotes and orders for your customers with a focus on some of the additional options and a few bells and whistles that you have available when creating your customer quotes and orders. Okay, so now that I have my quote created, I'm going to come back and clear my filters, hit my escape button to take me back to my main quote screen. And I want to go through some options that you have available. So let's talk about notes. If I wanted to put a note in this job for my installer so that it will print out on the work order, I've got a couple places. I've got here, these would be job notes. So notes that are specific to the job. If I simply type a note in here and save it, it will save internally. If it's a note that I want to print on the installer's work order, I have to include an asterisk before each line. Otherwise, it will not print. So maybe just to kind of go back, I'm going to type a little bit more information about how I want my material installed. So, oops. Install my carpet from front to back, and I'm going to save it. So now this note will print on my work order. Once I've added a note, this little notepad is highlighted in green. If I want to include a ship to note, so this would be a note that pertains to the specific address, I can click this note tab here. And again, if I want it to print on the PO, or excuse me, on the work order, it has to include an asterisk before each line. So maybe I'm going to put in my gate code. Once I click on save, it saves it, and it also shows you who entered this note and when. So this is now highlighted in green. You also have the option to add notes to any of these lines in here. So if I was to click on this labor line, right click and scroll down to line notes, I have the ability to add a note on this line. Add a room is if you want to put carpet cuts in as a note. Customer copy, this note will only print on the customer's document, so the quote or the order information or document that you send them. Work order will print out on the work order for the installer. Both will print out on both the customer copy, the work and the work order, and then none will not print anywhere, but it will save internally. So I'm going to click on both here, and I'm going to type my note in. And I'm going to click on save. I then have the ability to add in as many lines as I need. And when I'm finished, I simply click on exit. So here's the note that I typed in, and B signifies that it's printing on both documents. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. If I refresh my screen, I now notice that I have an asterisk before this line, and then that tells me that there is a note on this line. Okay, so once I've added my notes in, I can now print out or email this quote to my customer. So I'm going to go up to print quote. And then I have quite a few options as how I want my quote to look. And I do suggest playing around with the different print options until you get the quote looking the way you want it to look. If you have a setup that you want to keep for all of your quotes or orders, there is a setting in document maintenance, and it's called print option defaults, where you can go in there and you can make these settings a default. So I'm just going to show you a couple of options. I've activated bundling for my carpet, so I do want to show you how a summary view will look for that. So if I click on print quote, so when I print up my quote, I can see the quote number, I can see my installation address, and I can also see my billing information. Because I clicked on the summary bundle view, you can see very little information is showing up here. So it's just extremely summarized, and then I've got my totals down here. So if I want to show detail, I'm going to go back to print quote. Okay. In this case, I want to activate my bundling, but I want to show detail. And I also want to print some additional information. So perhaps I want to show my quantities. I want to show my unit price, and I want to show line extensions. So if I choose these options, I can click on print quote again. And now I can see the quote. I can see my bundle name along with the material and the labor lines in that bundle. I can see the quantities, the unit prices, and the line extensions with a total of that bundle. Then I can see the additional items in the quote that were not part of a bundle. These were my tile items. Okay. Just to show you another option is I can, again, print quote. This time I'm not going to activate bundling, but I do want to show the additional quote detail over here. And I want to put a note on my quote for the customer. I can type the note in right here. Now, once I've added these notes, these will print at the bottom of the quote. I do also have the option to print the first 4 lines and the special instructions box of the quote, which I will show you in just a moment. But in order to do that, you'd have to click right here. So now, rather than printing the quote, I'm going to email the quote to my customer. Okay. So here is who it's going to. Here is anybody that I might want to copy. I can add a subject line to my quote by typing it in here. I can change the name of this attachment. So I can just simply click on rename document to do that. I can preview the document. I can also add a message to my document. When I click on that, I can type my message here. And if I've set up any templates in email templates, I can grab that template here and then save my message. Preview document. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like. Okay. So now you can see that there are no bundles, just the material. And here are those notes that I had typed in. Had I selected for those notes to go into the special instructions box, they would show up here instead. When I'm ready, I simply click on send to email out this quote. Okay. All right, so now a few more options. This quote cost button, if I click on that, my system will generate a very detailed quote report that shows me all kinds of information, costs, margins, sell information. So I can see by scrolling through this report, I can see my overall cost, sell price, profit, and margin. I can see any commissions that have been set up. And if they have been set up, I can see what the projected amount will be for payout. I can see more information here on cost, material cost, freight, labor, special cost, total commission to be paid out, profit minus commission after commission is paid out, my margin percentage after commission is paid out. And then I can see all the line items on the job and the additional detail for those specific line items. Okay. I have my eDocs button here. So if I want to attach any documents to this quote in the system, by the way, anything I attach here or any of the notes, any of the information that I put into this quote right now, when I convert it over to an order, all of that will carry over. All right. So if I want to attach a document from my system, I can come in, find whatever document it is, select it. And once I select that document, I'm going to choose which folder I'm going to put it in. I'm going to go ahead and select General here. And now I can see there is a document in there because there's a small asterisk right there. I can also rename any of these folders if I'd like to by clicking on Custom eDoc Tag Maintenance, renaming them and then saving. All right. I can also now see there is an asterisk right there, which tells me there is a document saved. I have a copy button here. So if I click on that, I can copy this quote to a new quote. I can copy it to a template. I have some functions options here. And one of them that's really handy is the cost review option. If I click on that, I have the ability to update my overall quote. I can update the overall margins. So for example, edit my margin, my material margin, I can update it here. I can do the same for my labor. Special charge lines, I could even edit the total margin for the job. Right now it's at 41 points, but perhaps I don't think I'm going to win it unless I take my margin down a bit. I can edit the margin and it updates these totals here, right? I can edit the total profit in the job. I can edit the total sale price if I need to. Okay. By the way, this is your sale price minus taxes. This does not include tax. I could also edit my bundles if I'd like. So I can edit the bundle margin here, and that will edit the overall margin of everything in the carpet bundle. Okay. I also, one thing I didn't cover is if the customer ends up not going with this quote and I need to close it out, I can simply click on functions and then cancel close, and it will close out this quote. All right, I have, let's see here. We went over print. I have my view options. So I can look at all the comments in the quote. So these are those line notes that we put in there, but rather than seeing them one at a time, like I did by right clicking on each line, I can see them all in one spot. And if I need to add more notes in, I can simply click on the line I want to put them on. And then I then have this add button here to add additional notes. The same would apply for, let's say I want to go into this note here. Oh, where was it? Right here. So I have this note that I put in the system. Perhaps I want to delete it out or change it. I have options here. All right. So that's how I can update all of the job notes that I have or line item notes. Okay. I have price lookup. This simply allows you to look up A to J prices the way they're set up in the system. If you created A to J pricing, you would find the line, you'd find the material line that you're looking for. And if I had set up A to J pricing, I would be able to see it here. Audit review, this is going to show you any additions or changes that were made to this quote. So you can search by audit date, you can search by audit type, and use this filter button to filter out what you're looking for. You can also click into any of these lines, double click on them to see what was changed and who changed it. Another option you have that can get really handy is this bundle view. Now, like I did not create a bundle for the tile, I can always come into this bundle after the fact to add bundles, edit bundles, delete bundles, whatever I need to do. So right here, I can see everything in my carpet bundle. But if I click on the unbundled lines, I can see all of the lines that I did not bundle. And these were my tile options. So I can right click, create a new bundle, save it. And then once I do that, I can select the lines I want to go into the bundle individually, or I can select all if I want them all in that bundle and then click on save. All right. So now I can see everything that's in each of these bundles. If I needed to edit, I could right click, change the bundle, or remove it from the bundle. So you have quite a few options. I can also set my default bundle print options if I want to do that right here. One last option I have up here in view is contacts. And that simply will show you any additional contacts that were set up in this customer's file in customer maintenance. And if there weren't any additional ones, I have the option to add them by clicking here. Okay. Once I've set up everything needed for this quote, I can add the deposit here if the customer is choosing to go ahead and purchase this quote, turn it into an order, or I can now simply convert this over to an order by clicking functions and convert quote to job. Once I do that, everything that I put into the quote now moves over to the order. Here's my order number. Here's my quote number. I still have all my notes in the system. I still have my eDocs. And at this point, I am happy with the way everything is and the customer's ready to go. So I'm going to add a deposit by clicking on this deposit button and then add deposit. I'm going to go ahead and put down approximately half here. So I'm going to put in $1,600. The customer is paying me with a check. And I'm going to add my check number and click on save. So I can see down here my job totals. I can now see my deposit and the balance that's due from the customer when the job is completed. All right. A few other options you have when you right click on some of these line items. If I right click on Castle Drive, I can view existing inventory in the system if I already have any existing inventory. If I did, it would show up here and I could see the quantity available. In this case, I don't. Okay. I can also view the catalog item. I would call this like a shortcut button that takes me to the catalog item for this carpet. So I can see the way that the item is set up in the system. I can see my cost right here on the catalog item and all the additional colors. I can assign or unassign the material when the time comes. I'm not going to do that today. That will be covered in the training for creating purchase orders. Here are those line comments again. If I want to look at any line comments that were created, I can view the job labor detail line. This will apply once you pay out labor to your installer, but in this case, we have not done that yet, so there's nothing here. I can right click and I can view the last price that I quoted out to this customer for that material. In this case, I've never quoted Sally Jones before, but had I sold her this material before, I would see the last price that I sold or quoted to her. And view committed. This can be really handy. Let me go into this moisture barrier pad. So this is really handy for any of your stock items. I can see any quotes or orders, or excuse me, any orders that include this material by clicking on view committed. And this is a great way to perhaps unassign any material from a job that does not need that carpet pad on it quite so soon to free up inventory. Maybe there's a job that the material has been assigned to, but that job won't be installed for another month. You could go into the job and you could simply right click to enter that job. Once I enter that job, if this job didn't need that carpet pad for a while, I could go in and unassign it. In this case, it hasn't been assigned, so no problem. But that is an option for freeing up inventory. Okay, so I'm going to escape back out to my main order screen. And I believe, oh, one more thing I want to show you, job history. If I click on this, it's going to show me a lot of information as to what's happened in this job so far. So right now I can see the deposit that's been put down on the job. But if I was to add another deposit, I would see it. Once I start invoicing out lines in the job, I'll see those lines. Any credit memos that get created, I will see them in here. So this is a good place to see your job history. So lastly, I want to show you guys that once we have created the order and we're ready to exit out of the job, if you notice, when I click on the exit button, it tells me that my job status must be entered. That is mandatory. You have to update the job status before you can exit the job the first time that you create the order. So I click here to update it. At this point, I'm going to say this job is ready for review, or whatever job status you have set up in your system that would be applicable. These are completely customizable. So you're going to want to set these up the way they pertain to your company's business. But once I select my job status, I can escape out. And at this point, I think I've covered everything I wanted to go through. So thank you guys for attending. If you'd like additional information or have any inquiries about BMS software or any other Broadlume products, please go to www.broadlume.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.